So welcome everyone. Thank you for joining us today. Our session is called Embedding Psychosocial Rehabilitation in Supportive Housing, Real-World Insights from British Columbia. We're here to explore how supportive housing can be much more than a roof over someone's head. It can be a foundation for recovery, dignity, and community connection. Today, we'll look closely at two Kamloops-based initiatives, the Mental Health and Addiction Supportive Housing Program, known as MHASH, and the Townhouse Residential Program. Both are deeply grounded in PSR principles. Together, they show how housing environments can become places that foster autonomy, skill building, and holistic recovery. Over the course of this session, you'll gain an overview of the MHASH and Townhouse programs, learn how interdisciplinary teams bring PSR-informed practice to life, and reflect on areas for growth and innovation in supportive housing. This session also connects directly with PSR competencies, such as community integration, person-centered practice, collaborative teamwork, and lived experience inclusion. We're excited to be joined by a fantastic panel of presenters: Jordan Sweetnam, housing lead with the Kamloops Mental Health and Substance Use Housing Team; Danny McDonald, manager of the Ask Wellness MASH program; and Denise Mickelson, social worker with the Mental Health and Substance Use Housing Team. Each brings rich experience in housing, recovery, and PSR, and together they'll provide a well-rounded look at what it means to build supportive housing models that truly support recovery. So with that, let's get started.
All right. One moment while we just get sorted here. Perfect. Okay. Good morning, everybody. Happy Friday. Hope you've all had a great week and have a weekend you're looking forward to. In today's webinar, we are going to be discussing psychosocial rehabilitation in supportive housing settings, as was previously said, and we will be putting a particular focus on the MASH and Townhouse programs, with which are a partnership with Tier Health and Ask Wellness.
Hi, everybody. I would like to start by just acknowledging that at this time, this is our land acknowledgement. It is always evolving as we grow and learn within the community and within the land. I am in Kamloops, so I am based in the Kamloops to Secwepemc territory. We would like to acknowledge that we work, live, and play on the unceded territory of the Kamloops to Secwepemc people, situated within the ancestral lands of the Secwepemc Nation. Collectively, we strive to support in ways that are committed towards the Truth and Reconciliation Commission's call to action by recognizing historical and intergenerational traumas impacted upon Indigenous people through colonization. We respect self-determination, Indigenous-led solutions and services, and aim to engage in cultural safety trauma-informed practices.
Hi guys, so just do a little more of an introduction for you. My name's Denise and I'm a social worker with I've been working a year now. Prior to that, I was living in the Lower Mainland and working with we had originally had Sam, one of our she's a recent BSW grad and a life skills worker with us. She was unable to join us today, unfortunately, and we had also planned to have one of our participants, our program participants, join us today, but unfortunately he was not able to make it.
As said before, my name is Jordan Sweetnam. I am the MHSU Kamloops Housing Lead. I'm a registered social worker. I've been working in housing initiatives for a number of years. Previously, I was the care coordinator for both the MASH and Townhouse programs. I've also supported the enhanced care program, complex care in the past. And historically, I used to work for Alberta Health Services in Edmonton, Alberta, and helped start a housing initiative called the Inner Ways Transitional Housing Program that provides supports for individuals that were in transition and had concurrent disorders. Thank you.
Hi everybody, I'm Danny. You unfortunately cannot see my face because I've been having technical difficulties with my camera. But that's okay. So I am the MHASH program liaison for the Kamloops branch for the agency, the nonprofit agency Ask Wellness Society. We are a legacy program that has been running for over 10 years now. And we are one of the first programs within the Ask Wellness Society to really create and cultivate our relationship with interior health. I've been doing the MASH program specifically for about 4.5 years, working for Ask Wellness for 5 years. And before that, I was working in other recovery-based positions. So it's definitely a place that I very much enjoy. And I really enjoy working in recovery, and it is something I'm a lot better at than public speaking.
Okay, and so the brief description of what are we talking about today. This presentation will be based around 2 psychosocial rehabilitation initiatives based in Kamloops, British Columbia. The MHASH and Townhouse programs, which are operated by Ask Wellness Society, and Interior Health, Mental Health, and Substance Use. Some of our learning goals that we've broken down a bit more specifically than was previously mentioned. We'll share our mission statement with everyone. Doing a thorough explanation of the MHASH and Townhouse initiatives. Identify and explain different roles of different providers that support these housing initiatives and how psychosocial rehabilitation is integrated into these programs. And we'll be ending off with looking at a couple areas for improvement and finalize things with a nice Q&A.
Okay, so our mission statement is the MHASH and Townhouse programs are dedicated to fostering recovery and self-determination for individuals facing mental health and substance use challenges. Through safe, supportive housing and psychosocial rehabilitation model, we empower residents to recognize their inherent values, build skills, and achieve their personal goals, leading to hopeful and contributing lives. And just a note on some things that are mentioned in the mission statement that we hold very dear are the self-determination piece and the personal goals piece. When coming up with this mission statement, we were noting that we often see a tendency for supports to lead clients towards setting goals that meet expectations of societal norms. And so we're really trying to encourage our participants to explore their hopes and dreams and develop goals that line up with their personal values.
So now we're going to talk a little bit about what are the MASH and the Townhouse programs and kind of how they're similar and their differences. So I'm going to speak to the MASH program. So what MASH stands for is mental health and supportive housing. So we are a partnership between the Interior Health and Ask Wellness in Kamloops. We have 12 residents and 12 apartments. So each apartment is independent. It's each individual's own living space. There's no roommate situation. It is kind of like their own space that we like to encourage to kind of make their own and comfortable in whatever way that they see fit for those 2 years. So this is a 2-year program, and it gives our individuals a chance to engage, create those relationships that are super necessary, and also to help receive supports through that time to then eventually graduate onto the next step in their life and however they see fit. The program also offers safe and affordable below market rentals, as a lot of our individuals are on PWD or some sort of ministry benefits. And as we know, we are in a housing crisis right now, and market rentals can be quite inaffordable. So it really gives individuals a chance to kind of have a break and a breather and be able to live in a place that's not above their means cost-wise while still working on recovery and treatment for their mental health. We do offer life skills 1 to 4-ish times a week. Because this is an independence-based program, we usually see each individual, figure out where they're at the beginning, offer more life skill supports, and then usually taper down as we're trying to support the individual in becoming a little bit more independent in whatever way that looks for them. Because as stated, everyone kind of comes to us at different places in their lives. They all have different challenges that they're working with, and they all have different skill sets that they have. We offer medication support, so that's, medication checking, but also like medication discussion. A lot of our folks are taking medication, and it's really important that we keep a very respectful but open line of communication around that. If an individual decides that they no longer are wanting to take a medication or are having adverse side effects from medication, then that's something we bring to the clinical team. And then that's where we have the access to mental health and substance use resources. So that's psychiatry, counseling, case management, all of that we really like to do wraparound team support. We are a very close knit team, the MHASH program, and all of the workers that help support the MHASH team. We're always great with keeping clear and concise communication, and we find that that's really what's been integral in helping our program move so smoothly when it has. And it's really, at the end of the day, what keeps it as like a client-centered and client-focused. We also try and support in community engagement and integration, because as we know, those are very important parts for individuals, especially when they're dealing with mental health, as we know that it can oftentimes be highly stigmatized, and our individuals can be quite vulnerable to that. So we like to really foster those kinds of spaces, and I know that we'll get into a little bit more about how we like to do that later on in the PowerPoint.
And I'll just speak to our townhouse program a little bit. So it's similar to MASH program, but there are some differences. So this is a partnership with another housing agency within Kamloops called Interior Community Services. We are a little more intensively supported in that we have a check-in on site daily or 6 days a week. We do daily medication checks. And because we have more support, we're able to take clients that may be not as stable, that might just be coming out of hospital. And the other difference is that this is a shared accommodation. So it's a 2-bedroom with a shared living space and kitchen and bathroom. And so one of the things that we really work on in the townhouse program is navigating roommate dynamics. So this can be things like the distribution of chores and household duties, food sharing or not sharing, times of the day that we can be quiet and loud, and just dealing with typical roommate conflicts. The nice thing about this model is that staff can assist in mediating challenges while encouraging the clients to participate in productive problem solving, expressing their needs, setting boundaries, and strengthening their interpersonal skills.
Great. All right. And next up is our team structure or roles of team members. I'll start off with the MHASH program liaison. So what's important in this program is we're doing, even though it is supportive housing, we're doing the best that we can to prepare individuals for market level living, because most of our folks' goal is to hopefully not need services for the duration of their lives. And this being a 2-year time limited program, that is a lot of time, but it also has the intention of helping people move back on into whatever lifestyle that they want to be going without this type of structured support. So what the MHASH program liaison does is kind of fits in as a simulated landlord. So she keeps up with rent, preparing for rent, discussions that you would be having, holds discussions that you would have with your landlord, teaches individuals about roles of what being a good tenant is, and also what being a good neighbor can be. That involves helping out your neighbor, being quiet at a certain time at night, frustrations you may have with a neighbor and how to navigate that sort of thing. Frustrations or difficulties with saving up for rent and having rent prepared at the appropriate time of the month, planning your budget around that. The MHASH program liaison services are operated during weekdays on business hours, usually what your landlord's available as anyways too. They also help cultivate relationships with other housing and community partners because a feature in this program, most of our units are located at one site, but we do also offer some satellite apartment sites around town. Those sites, often individuals can actually, after the 2-year duration, if it goes well, inherit the site itself. And that what the MHASH program liaison does in that situation is functions as a mediator or an in-between between the actual landlord of the site and the potential resident. And if all goes well, then they can inherit the site, and that's how the person won't have to move again. The MHASH program liaison also runs and navigates our bed utilization for participants. What that looks like is quarterly rent increases. All individuals start off at about $500 a month, and they move up quarterly until they hit the market value of the potential unit. They also navigate the bi-weekly bed utilization meetings that happen on Thursdays. You can also think of this as like a team meeting about all the residents in the MHASH program. The next role we have is life skills worker. They help teach practical skills. Those can look like cooking, cleaning, job readiness, personal hygiene, routine development, sleep hygiene. These are things that are often identified in a care plan or planning that's done with the individual, and then life skills rolls that out on a side-by-side support and help people engage in that. They also function to support with transportation, whether it's medical appointments, psychiatry appointments, there's lots of appointments. And then they also help with transportation teaching. People start off with a lot of, like we said, like up to 4 times a week support. And as we work down, the teaching itself is how does that individual start to attend these meetings or uphold that schedule on their own as we slowly decrease supports as necessary. The next role in this program would be the care coordinator. Care coordinator does referral management, so where we get our referrals from. For the programs, how to prioritize referrals. We do prioritize marginalized populations, and we also do prioritize individuals that are homeless, at risk of being homeless, or coming out of hospital. Care coordinator does the care and treatment coordination and planning. Helps navigate complex systems, especially within the health authority itself, and helps with transition planning. And the final role and access that we have in these programs is to psychiatry and mental health and substance use resources. So most individuals in these programs, if not all, are attached to psychiatrists that they see anywhere from every 3 to 6 months. The point of that is to do assessment, diagnosis, ongoing treatment, suggested prescribing. And these programs also have access to occupational therapy supports and recreational therapy supports as well, all based on the needs of the individual. Next portion. And now we're going on to the next 2 slides, really talk about how we incorporate psychosocial rehab and psychosocial rehab principles into the actual work in the program. So a compatibility meeting. I'm going to briefly talk about program criteria, then jump into that. So our program's criteria right now, well, historically was people coming to Townhouse and MHASH program had access 1 disorders with features of psychosis and were in need of case management. As populations and needs have changed, the program has grown in itself, and we've opened up the table to all individuals that have a moderate to severe mental health diagnosis in the Kamloops region that would be qualify for mental health and substance use services at Interior Health and are in a place along their journey that they're out of that pre-contemplative state and they're actually ready to work some recovery as deemed by their clinician or their support people, and to have an interest in engaging in recovery-based programming. So with that being said, after we receive a referral from one of these places, we like to start off by meeting an individual for what we call a compatibility meeting. This is traditionally known as an intake, but we like to also try our language, change our language in a lot of our programming, because for me, when I think of intake, I think of job interview, I think of anxiety. The hope out of compatibility meeting is a place where you can go and meet with another and establish if you have a helpful relationship towards each other. So clients bring themselves, their stories, their goals, their hopes, their dreams, and we bring ourselves as you've just heard us, Danny, Denise, Jordan, we are, what we represent, and work through a process to see if we can have a relationship for the next 2 years to support the individual with where they want to go. So I'm really big on strength-based language. We were actually in this PowerPoint, I was already trying to change some language and some other pieces in our processes, but it wasn't the time and place to do that because we have a presentation today. But next up, so when we do this assessment, this is who we are, who are you? To begin a relationship for a 2-year, we do conduct a biopsychosocial spiritual assessment while meeting these individuals, but we do it in a narrative format. Storytelling to understand the person. I find be a lot less institutionalized, a lot less stigmatizing, and fear causes a lot less fear for individuals when they come to meet us. Piece that we do in this also in using relational practice is we set terms of our relationship. So we do explain the program, we explain what program expectations are. We also have rights and responsibilities that clients have if they're interested in a program like this. But we also have team rights and responsibilities that we list and explain to a client as well, because we're all responsible for each other to help this person along this journey. If the individual, after this part of the compatibility meeting, is still interested, then what we like to do is, I love my analogies, we start to roadmap, is what I'd say. So in drawing a roadmap, we meet a lot of people that we'll say have come from hospital, and their goals often align with things like, I want to connect with family, connect with my culture, I want to be able to manage an apartment on my own, I want to get a job. What are these things that you have in your hopes and dreams in that beautiful future that you'd like to have for yourself? So when we identify those things, I kind of just draw a line. It's like, what are the barriers or what are the turns and the sidelines that we have to go through to get you to that piece of what you really want in your life? And I sometimes will take out a whiteboard and I will draw out the roadmap with the person so there can be a visual representation of what this can look like for them. Sometimes people will get really into that. We sometimes meet people that are in crisis as well. So this meeting won't be as formal or as structured based on the client's needs. But if we've done that meeting, they're interested, we think that they can work on it in the sense that they're interested in doing recovery-based work. We will then accept them in the program, they'll move in. We generally have a 3-month, I would say, grace period or settle down period for individuals. We get lots of people that just want to jump and get into things, but once they actually get into an apartment, a lot of the folks that we support haven't felt a lot of safety or security in their lives. They don't know if they can even trust us yet. So we kind of do a relational period for 3 months where we just continue that getting to know period, that we're just here to help you, we care about you, you are important, and this is a safe space. After 3 months' time, and hopefully we've done a good job of doing some trust building, we will meet for what we call goal setting meetings, which is the thing I was talking about possibly changing the name of. I don't know if I like goal setting anymore, but that's what we use currently. And we pull out the roadmap again. I'm like, this is the map that we drew last time we saw you. Is this where you want to go still? Has any of this changed? Have new turns and twists come up for you in this last 3 months that we didn't anticipate? these are some things that we've noticed that we think maybe you'd be interested in, or that might be a helpful skill for you. And then ongoing through this 2-year period, we will meet every 3 months, and in general, uh, goals, but this is the formal spot to plot out that map. And then approximately about 6 months before a person's 2-year mark is starting to end, we start to add to the roadmap the transition. Where are we going? What does this trajectory actually look like now? We've been together for a year and a half, and this is what we're feeling like might work for you. What do you think? And we find having about a 6-month grace period can help people navigate a lot of the tough feelings that come with like transitions and endings. And I think that's a really important therapeutic tool in itself, is how to change dynamics and go through those things in healthy ways and model them and help person experience a healthy change, because they haven't been offered that a lot in their lives historically. Thank you.
So I'm just going to talk a little bit about one of the a group that we established. It's called our Compass Group. And so this all started last year. We were all at the PSR conference here in Kamloops, and there was a lot of discussion about community. And we were kind of asking, where is this community for our folks? So community integration and connection is an integral part of psychosocial rehabilitation, and we wanted to develop a way that we could encourage our participants to access the community more. And many of our participants feel like outsiders in the general community, we were learning, due to stigma and maybe past experiences. There was a lot of fear we were noticing of accessing community resources, attending groups, accessing services, and we decided to develop this Compass Group as an opportunity to provide a safe space to gather and a safe group to access some of these resources. This group also gives the participants an opportunity to normalize their experiences living with mental illness and share those experiences with each other. And it's an opportunity to build relationships with other people in similar situations. So just to tell you guys a little bit about how our Compass Group works, we meet weekly at the same day every week, and we rotate through 4 key aspects of this. So week 1, we try to do activation. So this is usually a recreational opportunity. Some of the stuff we've done is bowling, movies, walks, beach days, barbecues, things like that. The second week, we usually try and do a skill building activity. So this is generally life skills. We've done cooking groups, budgeting workshops, time management, sleep hygiene workshops, and we will often get community members or staff that we work with to come in and lead some of these groups. Week 3, we do mindfulness. So this is working on self-regulation skills. We've had workshops on CBT, DBT skills, setting boundaries. We've done guided meditation, yoga. And then the 4th week is community. So this is just getting together and exploring some of the resources in the community. So things like taking everybody to the rec center and going for a walk or using the gym equipment, maybe accessing the pool. We've done group activities at the CMHA Clubhouse, which is a mental health kind of gathering spot in Kamloops here. We've done things like groups to the library, museums, and we've also had the opportunity to do cultural teachings with our cultural navigator here at Interior Health. One of the great things we do with Compass Group is we check in with our clients frequently. So every 3 months or so, we send out a client feedback form, and we take feedback from the clients on what kind of things they want to work on in each category. And so we've had some awesome suggestions, and we try to implement them. Some of the feedback we've gotten was kind of funny at the beginning. We had some things that were said like, gives me something to do on Monday. It's a nice way to spend a Monday afternoon, or I assumed I would hate this, but it has been wondrous and I've enjoyed it greatly. So, there was kind of some mixed feelings and some trepidation about coming to this program, but what we found throughout this last year of doing the Compass Group is that the clients are showing up regularly. They are interested in what we're doing next. They are building friendships with each other and meeting outside of the planned Compass Group times, and the numbers are growing. So it's been really awesome, and I think I speak for the whole team here that we personally enjoy going to these groups as well as we get access to this stuff as well.
And I just wanted to share two quick stories about Compass Group really quick twice. First one is this individual that said gives me a thing to do on a Monday. He was there for our very first Compass Group. And I got everybody to, because we didn't know quite what Compass Group would be yet. It was the early formation of just like, we just need to start getting these people together to build this community and see what this community needs and what they want. So we got them all in the room, and I just structured this thing based on doing some mindfulness activities. It had a feelings wheel involved. And in all honesty, it was kind of a bit too formal than what the group really actually wanted. But luckily we had good relationships with the folks that were all there. So this one individual filled out, or actually mentioned at the end of it when I got everybody to do a gratitude for the day, because I'm big on gratitude. And he says, I guess it's something to do on a Monday. And the tone was kind of off-putting and just like he was dragged out there and that kind of thing. But we did it again, I think it was about 3 months later. We did another gratitude check-in, and his gratitude check-in again gives me a thing to do on a Monday, but the tone had significantly changed. It went from it gives me something to do on a Monday to it gives me something to do on a Monday. Like he was looking forward to going. That individual had come to every single group since that first one, all the way to that 3-month one. And this is something that they were looking forward to that added meaning to their lives. Another quick story, because I love stories. We hosted a cooking class at Garden Gate, and we had some barriers to getting things set up, so we were a little bit less organized than we initially planned, and I will say. And the beauty of what happened there was a couple of the residents had cooked in the past and had lots of cooking experience in their lives. And so where we were, well, I had made some mistakes. For example, I was cooking spaghetti, and I think I put the lid on the spaghetti, and one came over and immediately took the lid off. He's like, you can't put lids on spaghetti because it makes the spaghetti sticky. And then he took over the spaghetti from me. And the clients started to create roles for themselves within that cooking class to participate in actually doing this meal that we were going to all sit down and eat again later. We weren't I anticipated to be like, this is instruction, you cook at this heat, you do this, you do that. But they actually initially kind of took over the activity in itself, set up the meal, and then we were all sat there and got to eat together. So something that Compass Group's done a really good job, or something that I've noticed and enjoyed, it's been an opportunity for a lot of our participants to show their strengths as well, identify their own roles, find their own fits in this community where they can help, they can give back. There's a lot of helping in Compass Group. Some people struggle with some physical impairments, and other ones will actually check and make sure they're okay and bring things to them or help open doors for them and help them move over. So it's been a really fun journey, because I think we've been doing it for about a year. Is it a year? Yeah. So it's still new and figuring out what it is, but we're still touching on things, and we'll talk more about that. I just wanted to add those stories because that's where I find the real recovery work is happening, is in those stories and in that messaging and in those pieces where our clients really are showing who they are and where they're going and how to help each other out. Thank you. Be mindful of time. We're starting to get wind down. I was going to go into this, but I think we've spoken to a number of these skills. Like, these are the PSR core components in the sheet that was shared to me and I've read and done courses on, but I think we've discussed supporting practices and recovery-oriented services, equity and social participation, diversity, inclusion, how to do that, how we facilitate change and provide leadership, and some of the professional skills that we bring to this, but also our clients bring to this journey as well. So I'm going to move on to our next slide so we have time for our Q&A.
Okay, so we're going to move on to areas for improvement within the programs. So I think that it's always important to always accept and understand that with any program, just like anything in life, there's always growth, there's always chances to improve and change and accept feedback. So this is kind of some of the things that we've come up with in ways that we can kind of improve our programming within interior health and wellness. So identifying new partnership opportunities with local housing providers. This will hopefully lead to more supportive housing, as we can all appreciate the large need for one. We have a large population of individuals who are needing housing without the amount of housing that is available. So the goal is to eventually one day get to that place where all of these individuals do have access to appropriate housing. The next one is enhancing other existing supportive housing initiatives. Lending supports and offering shared knowledge to better help each other and people who are looking to access supports. I think this one's important because I think we all have different experiences in different areas, and at the end of the day, we all have the same goal, which is supporting our clients, supporting our participants, supporting our residents. We all want to do the best for them and be the best care providers that we can. And one of the main ways we can do this is continuing conversations with each other and giving different ideas and feedback. Increased participant consultations. So this is having conversations with the program participants around their thoughts, needs, ideas, and having shared abilities to increase programming. As I know Denise and Jordan expressed, we've done kind of participant feedback, and we've gotten a lot of insight through that. Luckily, we have good relationship rapport with most of our folks, so they're not too afraid to share their opinions with us, which we love. We love that we've been able to get to that place with them, and we love that they feel comfortable enough to give that to us, and that's what we need, right? That's what you need to grow and evolve and really shape a program. Because something that really stood out to me, and I think a lot of us in the PSR conference in last September, was nothing about us without us. So these programs aren't for us to do for them. These programs are their programs as well. We are there to help them navigate and help support them through the difficulties of these programs, and at the end of the day, it's their programs. And then the last one is peer roles within the programs. So these can look like someone who can help run programs, do call outs, general supports within the programming, gives them a sense of purpose, and hopefully promotes self-actualization while adding another level to the program and community engagement, which is super crucial for individuals facing multiple mental health barriers.
Thanks, Danny. Yeah, and in our discussion on this slide, my ideal scenario for an area of improvement where I'd love to see something like Compass Group get to is one day me, Danny, and Denise are all sick on the same day, and the participants hold a Compass Group for themselves because they want to do that weekly group themselves. That would be like a dream come true, to see something like that actualized by our peers. Thanks. Okay, and that is the end of our PowerPoint. We're about 5 minutes early. I would like to take the time for some acknowledgements really quick for a few people here. I would like to thank our clients and participants. They're integral parts of the program, from where it came from where it is now, and hopefully where it can get to in the future. CMHA Clubhouse and CMHA in general for always giving us space, Interior Community Services for being a great partner, Thompson Rivers Recovery Club, who's we use their space all the time, the Game Hub, our residents love the Game Hub, Garden Gate, King Street, and then some individuals, Trentimus, Sarah Hoseneder. I'm gonna say some of these names wrong. I apologize. They'll give me a hard time later. Kim Galloway, Alicia Hamilton, Jeremy Kane, Tanya Betty, Jackie Letcher, Jonathan Ikabuchi, and Ashley Eden, and all the team members here at Kamloops MHSU and at Ask Wellness, and just in general that like help us get these things rolling, show so much interest, and give us new ideas to experiment with all the time. We couldn't do it without like a lot of really good support, and we really appreciate it. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. So we do have questions in the Q&A.
Oh, you're muted.
Oh, can you
I
hear
can
me?
hear you.
Okay. Maybe your mute is on your computer. You probably can't hear me. But yeah, so the first question is readiness for market. Average 1-bedroom apartment in Kamloops is $1,700. Persons part of the MHASH program start at $500 a month, and then the program gradually raises the rent to meet with the market cost of current living spaces. So this is a two-part question. What is the average market cost of the MHASH spaces? And what are the strategies to ensure income and access to income will meet the market cost?
I can, yeah, speak to this one a little bit, as the main housing provider and support. Okay, so first question, what is the average market? So currently the way that our 12 units, or I can speak to this for the MHASH at least. So currently the way our 12 units are set up is we have 10 units that are within Ask Wellness buildings. And then we have 2 what we called scattered sites. So those are units that are just in like a regular apartment. I say regular as in like a Kelson group or privately owned apartment building. So those ones can fluctuate a bit, but for the most part, the highest that rent goes in any of our Ask Wellness buildings for our folks is about like $625. So most individuals reach that within like their first like year or so of being in the program. And then I think the second question was, how do we prepare individuals for the actual market rent, which can be sometimes $1,700 for 1 bedroom. I'm going to speak a little bit to this, and then maybe Jordan can take this one over a little bit. But so a lot of what we do, again, it's very independent based. Some individuals are very certain that they want to be employed, and that is like a huge goal and focus, and so that's something that we support them in doing. So they're able to be on, say, PWD and work a certain amount of hours in the year and able to find some sort of housing in the market field that meets that. But then we also have other subsidies called the SRSP program. That's what's going on right now, where it helps find units and then provides a little bit of life skills. But then the big part of that is it's a market rental, but it has a subsidy on it. And this is where I'm going to give it to Jordan, because I know he knows a lot more about it. This is kind of his stuff than me. But yeah, we like to kind of transition most of our folks into the SRSP program because it's like the next step, where we kind of have the townhomes going into the MHASH and then kind of going into the SRSP. It's a lot more individual based. But it is kind of like their own market rental with some subsidies.
Yeah, and I'll fill in a bit on question 2 then too. So how do what are the strategies to ensure income and access to income will also meet the market cost? So that's why we start transition planning about the 6-month mark. The 2-year time period also is not a hard line, right? Like we have a responsibility, and that's one of the responsibilities the team has, that we will be supporting the individual in their transition. As long as they're working with us, they stay recovery focused and they keep working with us, then we'll work with them too. So we go through a 6-month period of how much are you making? What is your budget like? What's the market looking like? And what are the resources that are available? We're lucky to have a lot of good relationships with a lot of providers. Ask Wellness is one of them. There's a number of other providers in town, and there is a large number of subsidies that you can support folks to access if you have time, strategy, and relationship. And we happen to have a lot of those things, luckily. So we've been able to navigate a lot of that with people. So I would say that's a really large question, and it goes by a person-to-person basis, but having that 6 months is the important part. That's why those conversations have to start early, because the market is crazy right now. I don't, it's difficult for our folks to pay rent in general. So we have to do a lot of planning and discussion around that and advocacy.
Thank you. All right, next question. How does the 2-year program length factor into how you prioritize and consider a person for eligibility to the MHASH program?
You want me to do it?
Sure.
Okay. I would kind of need more context, really, because it doesn't. Like, the 2-year program link factor and how you prioritize consider people for things. So I will trust other people's clinical assessments, our own assessments, history. It's more about, is this person willing and ready to engage in recovery-based programming, and do they have recovery-based like, do they have the potential to do that? Like, there's certain things that you, like acquired brain injury, for example, or something like that. You might have a different baseline where the expectations could be for somebody to be able to go to. The goal of the MHASH program in itself is to be hopefully helping people transition onto independence. The Townhouse program, because it does stabilization and transition, we can be a little bit, we can accept a little bit more because it has more support. So sometimes if we know people are going to need long-term supportive housing, we can move them into the Townhouse program for up to 2 years and really get an idea of what their baseline is and then what kind of assisted living that they do need to move in. So case by case, 2 years isn't so much the number I'd be thinking on it versus ineligibility is like, is the person willing and ready and able to engage in some sort of recovery-based programming. The biggest factor we have and the biggest challenges we have, I'll say, for having people come to it, if they meet all the criteria in the sense of the moderate to severe mental health disorders, is substance use behaviors. Is it safe for self and safe for others? We can't like take an overdose risk and things like that, sadly, with the nature of what this housing is. There are places for that. Sadly, it's not ours because we don't have on-site support. And then we can't have somebody move in that just has no interest in doing recovery style work or aren't in a place that they're ready to do recovery style work with a team. There has to be an interest. And we do a lot of relational work to find our grains of sand to hang on to be like, come on, you kind of like me, you want to work with me, like, let's help you out. Like, we do a lot of that work. We don't just say no, but there's a lot of intention behind that. If we feel like a person isn't quite ready to be working intensively with the team on the kind of stuff that we're doing. Hope that answers the question.
Great, thanks. Next question, a 3-parter. So we've got, what happens if a person is unable to achieve readiness and recovery at the end of 2 years? Are there program extensions? And if so, for how long? And then if readiness and recovery continues to be elusive, is there another program that folks can be transitioned to?
Yeah, I can maybe, I guess, take this one. Can you start with the first question?
Yeah, so what if they are unable to achieve recovery at the end of 2 years?
Yeah, so I think the thing to note with like our program is we don't have like any cookie cutter ideations, right? Like for us, it's what recovery means to them. Like, of course, it's not just like come in and like don't work on anything and, you know, don't participate in programming. But recovery means something different to everybody. And I think it's as long as they have been engaging with like program staff and have been working towards goals, whether or not they have accomplished them or not, is less of a concern to us. And it's more just that they have been showing that they are actively participating in working in recovery. Because I mean, at the end of the day, like most of our, if not all of our individuals, you know, mental health is a difficult thing. It's something that they're going to be faced with for the rest of their lives. So full on recovery is kind of like a touchy one with that. But yeah, hopefully that kind of answered the first one. And then the next one.
Program extension for how long?
Okay.
And then is there somewhere else that they could be transitioned to if they return to precarious or no housing?
Yeah, so those ones kind of can go hand in hand. So we have had quite a few folks who have gone like up to 3 years in our programming, or have gone like above 2 years. And I think it kind of speaks back to what Jordan was saying, in the sense of, we say up to 2 year program. Some individuals are like ready to graduate and like more independent before those 2 years. But oftentimes we find individuals are either not quite ready by the 2 years, or just there's no appropriate housing available for them yet at that 2 years. So extensions are always welcomed, again, like Jordan said, as long as we are getting participation and the clients are still engaging and they're still working towards programming. We believe that it kind of goes against everything we're trying to do by saying, okay, end of the 2 years, that's it, you're out, you're done. And it also ruins the relationship that we've been trying to build. And yeah, just really goes against everything that we've tried to create, which is like a sense of security, a sense of like stability and all of that. And then is there agencies or other places that they can go to if they are not like a good fit? There is like a lot of other options, right? Like there is I know that maybe Denise or Jordan can speak to some of these other ones, but there's like, dependent on where each individual is at, and also the age of the individual, that sometimes takes into account. But there is other like housing, like Gaumont, Garden Manor. Sometimes it's like we talked about the SRSP programming. Sometimes it's CMHA housing. We do try to get a lot of our individuals on the BC Housing Registry, but as we know, that's like years long wait and not always the most practical. So there is a lot of different avenues. And I think kind of going back to what Jordan was saying is, it's almost like a bit of a game of chess when we're like at the end of, or like coming towards 2 years or past 2 years. With some individuals, it's a lot more simpler for them and their situation, and it's okay, this is great, this is where they are able to move to, and that works out. And other individuals, there's a lot more barriers. So it's all really individualized, but at the end of the day, we're always able to work with other community agencies, with our team, with the individual, to find something that is going to fit with them. And there isn't a hard line for the 2 years.
And I just want to mention sometimes, as we all know, recovery is not linear, right? And sometimes people make lots of progress and then it can stall out for a little bit. You lose a bit of your focus. Sometimes having your 2 years come up is a bit of a motivating factor or a wake-up call to like, crap, I got to get back into this stuff. And it's been a good therapeutic tool at times. And if the person shows that initiative at that time, it's like, well, we're not going to just leave you if this is really happening right now, right? And we have the benefit of that kind of flexibility, and then sometimes we've had to exit people out of the program, but often the door's not closed to them either. It's just not working right now. Because we're talking about these things, we've had to exit people out of the program. It's not working right now, but it can work again in the future. And we've had people return and come back and be successful then too, right? Through relational practice.
Great. So 2 final questions, and they might even be able to be combined. So one is, what learnings have you gained from bringing clinical services and housing services together in this specialized program? And then there's this question specifically about OT involvement, how OTs are incorporated.
Okay, so I can take this. The first one was what again?
What learnings have you gained from
Oh.
bringing clinical services and housing services together from this specialized housing program?
Well, I think, you know, if people aren't housed properly, their mental health recovery is not going to go well, right? So I think that's one of the biggest things we've learned, but I think we've known that from the beginning is like, first we need to establish that they're safe and secure in their housing. They've got food, they've got access to clothing, laundry, showers, things like this, right? And then we can start looking at recovery in their mental health and supporting it. I think it's kind of a no-brainer when you think about health in general, like you need to be housed. I hope that answers that question. With the OT services, so OT is really awesome in helping us in a number of areas. They can conduct assessments that help us understand where their intellectual capabilities are, where their financial capabilities are. So it helps us identify strengths and weaknesses. They're also helping to bridge into the occupational like scene. So we have something called the TVP program, which is actually don't know what the acronym stands for, to be honest with you, but it is a paid volunteer program. So with various agencies throughout Kamloops, so the clients have a certain amount of hours that they need to volunteer, and then they receive an additional income. So I think it's $150 a month, and I don't quote me on how many hours they need to have, but there's things like Garden Gate, so that's a community garden and kitchen service. They can volunteer at the mental health clubhouse. They can volunteer at the food bank, and there's lots of other opportunities there. And so that's kind of bridging them into actually working. Occupational therapy also works with Work BC, and they also run programs that can help prepare clients for working. So some of them, there's an ABCR program, that helps clients determine like what they're good at, what they need to work on, and also helping people maybe bring their computer skills up to date, or their tech skills up to date, or their communication skills up to date. And they can also assess things like cognitive impairments and learning style needs. Hopefully that helps.
Yeah, I want to go on that first question really quick too, because there's another important part of clinical services and housing services together. Because what we've talked about here is a partnership between Ask Wellness, which is a nonprofit housing provider, and then also Interior Health Authority, which is the clinical services component. So what a really important thing in this type of work when doing this in a housing setting is to have a strong partnership. And we do a lot of work on our partnership because both of our agencies have similar yet different objectives. So what we do here is we work together as an interdisciplinary but also interagency team. And sometimes, I don't know if my leadership will like me saying this, but sometimes that partnership outweighs the weight of the one objective of each one, whether it's Interior Health or it's Ask Wellness. We as a team are the deciding unit. If we keep our partnership healthy, it really helps us do the housing piece and the clinical services at the same time in a really strong way. And boy, do we disagree sometimes. And we have a lot of creative conversations and a lot of hard emotions, but it's because we're really invested in this type of work. And then at the end of the day, after we've had whatever, we leave as a unified front. And that's what's really important. I think sometimes can be a challenge in some of this work is when you're pulled towards your one agency or whatever you're working for, rather than focusing on the unified teamwork in itself for the clients. I hope that kind of answers the question too.
Great. Okay. We're at time, so maybe we will wrap up, or would you like to answer one more question?
Let's do one more. They're fun.
Okay. So the last one, policy and legislation, systemic pressures are what leads us to needing specialized and innovative programs like this. Do you have plans to elevate your learnings to the Ministry of Health and BC Housing?
That's a big one for the last one.
Yeah, timely question. Policy, legislation, systemic pressures, also current climate. I don't know if right now is the best time to be doing that. There are plans and hopes in the future for things like that. We did briefly mention the supported rent subsidy program that is a partnership with BC Housing and the Ministry of Health and nonprofit providers. That's in this region, and that's been a really great program. And I'd say that there is hopes, there is good data that shows this type of work reduces hospitalizations, reduces readmissions, and helps people to recover in general. So there, I would have hopes that some of the reports that we work on and the data that we've gathered might lead to fruitful change sometime, or increased in these types of services sometime in the future, just not currently.
That's great. Yeah. In the future, looking at bringing this to the policy level would be amazing. All right. Well, thank you, everybody. We're at 12 o'clock, so let's wrap it up there. Thank you for coming, and this webinar will be recorded and available for viewing. I think you'll get a notification in your email, perhaps, and it'll also be on the Psychosocial Rehabilitation website. So thank you all for coming, and thank you to our panelists for the wonderful presentation.
Thank you,
Thank you.
everyone, and thanks for having us.